This is a training organized by Blue Sky Citadel. So, and these are different courses that we offer. But today it's going to be basically introduction to software testing courses that we do offer. So, yeah, it's funded by the City of God. And we, like I said on Tuesday, this training was actually started by friends teaching friends, and then they are getting jobs. Then before then it becomes back to school. We based on success stories, you can see the group that I belong to. We don't advertise basically. It's everything's through word of mouth because of what we've done, and because also I've seen people that have actually paid like £1,400 for a course like this, and they came to our course and say, "Oh, we even got better materials, we got better air from you guys, so even better than what we paid money for." So yeah, we're going to have two tutors for this particular software testing. So, and there will be other mentors also. That is myself, the Yogunaja. You can check my LinkedIn profile. Like I said before, I've got almost 15 years experience in software testing, and I've worked for different organizations like HSBC, Gazprom, European Bank of Constructions, Rabobank, and the likes actually. And focusing on automation testing, even I've got even in C Sharp or Java, but this particular this course that we're going to be doing right now will be automation in C Sharp. Then Timmy works with Capgemini. It's going to be teaching us mobile automation testing. So if you're interested in mobile automation testing, so Timmy is your guy. So it's going to be looking into manual testing for automation for mobile, and also automation for mobile also. So that will come after the automation with Selenium and Spectrum. So for the training, so how is it being structured? So it's going to happen weekly from next year. So after today, we're going to meet again on first Monday of next year. I think second is it? No, it's going to be the first Monday of next year. So then every Monday, so we're going to have that training, 8 to 10. So there we plan to do extra courses for manual testing, but we only plan to do 3 courses, 3 weeks for manual testing, but we know it might not be enough. So if you do need extra practical classes, please do let us know. So, but we plan to do like 6 hours of manual testing classes. Then after that, we actually advise everyone to enroll for certification. I think this is the right time to get it. If you do need materials for the certification and you plan to do it early next year, please by all means send an email to admin at bluesky.com. They are going to send materials to you so that you can prepare. I think there are also DOMs that you can use to prepare for the exam. So you can contact us and we are able to help you. So, and after that, we also offer internship. This is unpaid internship. I must emphasize that actually maybe it's not even an internship, but more often we call it like a mentoring program. This is a place that we take your hand, we help you in making sure you understand what's been taught in the course, and also to ensure that you have exposure to practical projects, and you'll be able to also use as a reference also for the like 3 months you work on this particular project by Blue Sky. So, and it's been very successful. I think you can ask from the other guys. So most of people that really worked and do something eventually, maybe in a few months or even within the program, they will get a job. Even those one that hasn't got even experience to IT at all. So I've seen some of them actually got a job even after they finish. So because it's very intense. So I'm going to go through what is required to be successful, even to be able to enroll or being considered for the internship. I'll go through that later. So we also offer workshops. There will be one on the 25th of January for everyone, for the BAs and also for the QAs and also for project manager. So, and also after that, we also do graduation. There will be graduation and inductions, graduation for the last set on the 25th of January, and also graduation for the last set that they did in Java. So it's very important. So, and also the content of this course will be posted on different forums. For the first one is the video. The video will go into YouTube and it will be sent to you. And the documents of this particular slide also will be posted on a discussion forum. I will share the link with you so you add yourself to the discussion forum so you can have access to the material. So you can upload different material that you're going to do, and you can also make comments and discuss any issue that you have on that discussion forum is being created for this particular purpose. So, okay, maybe the question you might ask yourself is, who is this course for? So it's for anyone that intend to go into software testing, or you are actually a software tester. You want to enhance your skill in maybe mobile testing or in automation testing, or you want to know theoretical, you want to have theoretical information about why we do things in software testing or different test designs and everything. So if this is a course for you. So if you are a test professional, even if you are a developer, your business analyst is it's going to be detailed, to be honest. So you could also benefit from it. And in terms of experience, whether you are experienced or you are also not that experienced or just making transition into software testing, this course is also for you. Or recent graduates, we got another group for youth because we thought they also need more mentorship, to be honest. So we created a new group for youth. If you are under 25, you should belong to that. So because you're going to have more help than in the adult, to be honest. But however, that doesn't mean that if you're an adult, you should go and crash that group. You should not be there. So it's only that I think for them they need more time. So if you are under 25, you should go into that particular group. So this particular course will answer some questions. So one of them is, what exactly is software testing? So I think I do mention before that sometimes I get feedback from YouTube that most of our videos are too long, and it could be shortened because there is some of the comments are, this particular discussion or this training could be done in 1 hour or even in 20 minutes or 15 minutes. I do agree with them, to be honest, because sometimes we also do short videos, 5 minutes and everything. But during the course of this particular training that we do online, we try to make sure we go as basic as possible because we know different people are in different level of IT skills. So we try to make sure that everyone understands what we are actually saying. So I can say right now, what is software testing? That's so basic for some other people. So if you are looking for a short video to watch in terms of software testing, this is not going to be the right video for you. So you could as well just leave this place right now because it's going to be long and it might be boring for you. But if you're looking for a detailed explanation on software testing, introduction to software testing, this is the right place for you to be. So, but however, even if you're looking for a short video, you could skip to different parts actually. So this particular video is in different segments or sessions, so you could skip into the sessions that you are looking for, and then you can find the information from there. So we're going to look into what exactly is software testing, and also why is it important, and also software testing and the economy, what benefit is it, and what are the duties of software testers, what exactly is system requirement, how is this particular document used, and what is the scenario How do you design your test cases? How do you design your test data? What exactly is software defects, bugs, mistakes, and everything like that? So what is the cost of defect in different phases of software development life cycle? So, and how do you report or create bugs? So some of these one also will have a practical sessions just so that I can be able to go through this using a tool that we're going to look into, but it's not going to be in this particular session. It's going to be the next time that we meet. But we also try as much as possible in this session, in this particular video, to look into some of these particular questions that is there. So software testing roles. So when you are going to be applying for roles, so what do you look for? How do you know and you go into maybe JobServe or CW jobs, what do you search for? So the first thing I would say search for is just put software testing. So it could be in different names, so business tester, UAT, or defect and management expert quality, or you could test automation specialist, technical tester, 1 minute, please. Depending on what you want, so can just go through this quickly on what this role is about majorly for. And I can say one is technical tester, could be a automation tester basically. So tech architects, you are also similar to that. Also, you are meant to develop different framework using different tools, similar to even a test tool specialist, making sure you have proof of concept of using different tools that you can also propose to meet this, a particular scenario or to solve a particular business problem that you have. So, and there's also test manager. Your role was basically strategic, basically making sure all the principles of testing are followed and also making sure resources are available and everything. So we're going to look into this also in great detail, not in this particular class, but maybe in the future anyway. So I'm not going to talk about much on this one, but this is another different ways different testing disciplines that you can look into actually. So when you're going to be searching for roles, so you need to know where you fit in on different part of testing activities or testing roles anyway. So now, first question is, so I'm going to go through this later, and also why is testing very important? So I would say it's because bugs are real and they are also very expensive and even dangerous to also dangerous, very expensive to fix actually. So and they can cause potential loss, even monetary or even death, sometimes death. So we have several examples of those. So I'm going to go into those ones also. So one, what is the fundamental of testing, the aim of testing? I will look into this quickly, then I'll talk about the schedule of this particular course. So testing is very limited. It's very needed actually, but it's got its limitation, it's got its objective, it's got its purpose, and also there's principle to it. So this particular course, we try to introduce that to you. We try to introduce what's the fundamentals of testing, so what is psychology behind testing, and also for you to gain understanding of this fundamental of testing. So we try to make it as basic as possible. If you don't know anything about testing, welcome on board actually. So this particular course is going to open your eyes to testing, software testing, and also encourage how to you can be encouraged to be a tester and what you need to do to become one actually. That is the aim of this particular introduction anyway. So the schedule is we're going to do manual testing, very intense manual testing course. So today's 16, so the next one will be on the 6th and 13th, so 8 to 10 p.m. UK time. Then after that, we're going to look into automation and APIs. So that will start on January 20th to February 24th, or at the same time, 8 to 10 p.m. UK time. And after that, we're going to have mobile testing using even with automation also. So that will start from March 2nd to March 23rd. So at the same time. Then when we finish, there will be a project-based mentorship that we do run that will start from April 6th to May 31st. For you to be able to be considered in this particular mentorship program, you need to attend all these courses. There's a log for everyone that actually logging into this particular courses. So when you apply, we check the log to see that you've logged in, you've attended the course, that is tick. Also, you've attended our workshops that we do. Like I said, there's one on the 25th of January. You've attended that one. We normally do two. After that is beginning, and we'll do another one at the end. So that date will be communicated to you. I think it will be around end of March because that's where we're going to finish the mobile. So we try to make sure that it's beginning and also the end. So what you do workshop is basically from our experience, we found out when we bring people into the mentorship, right, and we have like this house, we try to make sure it's kind of like a work environment. We put QA, project manager, and BA in one team, so they try to work in as if they are actually in the environment basically. But what we found out is like when people have not come for the workshop, so they've got issue with their environment, they've got issues with their setup, they've got issues. And before then, they put people on backward when they're trying to do the internship. So because of that, we mandated everyone to attend the workshop so that everyone would be at the same page. And also during the mentorship, we also assist with job applications. We even encourage them to apply actually. So and also give updates during the application. This we're going to be doing also rigorous. And yeah, this is not a paid job actually. So, but we could give reference from Blue Sky. This is very important. So, but we are only going to give reference for the duration of the internship. So it's not someone calling and say, okay, I've worked with Blue Sky for the last 10 years. No, this is not going to happen. So you're going to be giving reference for maybe, okay, let's say you started right now. You can give reference from this particular time that you started, and if you're able to do the internship also, so that would be like 6 month reference that you've been with us and you're able to do this and the project that you worked on and everything. We can cover that 6 month gap for you. So based on what we've done, so we can give that. So and yeah, certification, like I said, we encourage everyone to do certification. So it's IST, and for software testing, IST QB. So 120 questions, there's a DOM for 120 questions. So out of the DOMs, you have to answer 40 questions. So then the pass mark 23. So if you want to sit for this exam, for this certification, to contact the admin at bluesky.com. And also, like I said, I've talked about the workshop. During the workshop, at the end of the program, we also do CV reviews in the workshop. We do interview prep in the workshop, and also we're going to do on the 25th. Also, we're going to do like a career fair. There'll be people coming to share their experience. Some people is in this program thinking I don't have IT experience at all. How will I do? So you're going to also meet people that have gone through the course without any IT experience, and they share their testimonies or what are their challenges, how they're able to overcome it. So you'll be able to hear from them also, and maybe that might encourage some of us in the program. So I actually said about the discussion board that I'm going to post this particular slide on discussion. So if you could write this particular URL down, so we're going to post this slide and also the material during the course. So into this particular slide, so into the particular discussion board. So once you go there, it's been structured in a way that you will see there will be QAs, there will be PAs, there will be project manager. So, but you need to look at the right one so that you can go in there and select the right discussion, and you'll be able to see the you're able to see that particular document that you're looking for. So over 25 and under 25, but make sure you be in the right discussion board, so that you can get the right information from there. So, and it's, yeah, okay. So the content of the automation quickly, we'll go through this because I didn't actually put the one for mobile actually because I'm not taking it. So, but that will come later. Jamie is going to be doing that. But for the automation, we're going to cover anything Selenium, anything Specflow. So anything that is Specflow, anything that is Selenium. So so basically from TDD, from getting, from the setup, from the running of your Specflow application, or even in different browser, we try to look into that, and we're going to look into WebDriver commands, how do you do that, locator, SPAR, switches, alerts. So we try to cover those ones. It's going to be very, very intense, I would say. So it's going to be very intense. So and we'll try to, as much as possible, to explain them in great detail. So video that we're going to be doing also, like I said, might be a long video, but I know people, as when you watch it, you know where you're looking for. You should be able to go there and also pick those in. But if time permits, we can break those videos down into different parts. But yeah, that's what we're going to look into. So, okay. I think that's basically the introduction into the course, as in all the courses actually, the courses that we're going to do in software testing. So, and now I'm going to go into the manual testing, so to say. So, giving you a brief overview of manual testing and what you need to do if you are planning or you don't know anything about software testing and you want to go into that. So if you have any question, I think you can as well just ask now before I go. So I quickly look into what question occur.
Oh, good evening.
Evening.
I've got a question to ask. This is more like a side. Let me use the word a side course I'm trying to do. I want to do the BA stuff, but I feel this knowledge is needed as well. How is it relatable to be a business analyst?
BA is a different discipline entirely. But in the IT team, right? If you're in the development team, you'll be working alongside with a QA, right? So the only thing I can say, having knowledge of what a QA does will be very, very useful for you. So, and also having, also when they're speaking their language or terminology, and you can understand them as a BA, and then also if you also very good in as a QA, right? And you cross over as a BA, there's also like a user acceptance testing that sometimes some BA actually do, so you can be able to perform better in that. But they are totally different discipline actually. But knowledge of each one of them is very important. Is not in waste of time, to be honest. So if you know how what a BA does, as a QA is also going to help your work actually. So to see when you are writing your reading the requirements, you know what a good requirement should look like. The same way also when you know what a tester is looking for as a BA, you would write a good requirement also for them. So I think those roles are interwoven. So it's useful if you know what the other party is looking for or is doing.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Please, I got a question, please.
Okay.
Okay. Is it possible to work as a BA and as well as a software tester in an organization?
It depends on the organization, but if you want a simple answer, yes, right? Because for some startup, they don't have a They don't have it spread into different parts. So you have a BA, sometimes also doubling as the QA, right? So it's possible that you have some BA is you are a BA and you're also the tester. Yeah, it's possible, right? I've seen some system like that where the BA is also the tester, but it's not something that will be advisable, basically. So, because even when you write the requirement, someone needs to test that requirement to be sure that it meets the what the user are looking for. So that's another thing that, but if there's a constraint in finance and also time and money, so yes, some people will employ only one resource to do those roles, basically.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Someone said, do we give assignments? Yeah, we do give assignments. At the end of today, also there will be assignment that will be given. So all these assignments are collected, basically.
Hello. Hello. I want to ask a question, please.
Okay.
Um, Sorry. What is the level of proficiency of C sharp? The level of proficiency of C sharp required to do software testing?
Okay. This is a very tricky question, to be honest. So, because if I say you don't need any C sharp experience, I might be lying and not also lying, actually. And I've said I've trained people that don't did not actually know anything about C sharp. As in the first time they heard about C sharp was through the course. And they now are automation tester and also working with big companies actually. But however, what I can say now is like after you've heard about it, there will be lots of things that you need to pick up on. You need to read up. You need to. So we try to make sure on this particular course is as basic as possible. So go into the low level. So you're going to we look into even how you're going to set up your C sharp environment and how to install Visual Studio and what exactly is Nokia package. So we everything that you need actually for as an automation tester, we cover them basically. So if you don't have experience or you've not maybe you've not even know what a C sharp is like, what exactly are you talking about? But as long as you have open mind and you are ready to work, right, you should be fine because we make sure everything is kind of sequential. I'll tell you something. When I first started this training, I don't normally train automation testing because I thought you need to be a developer to be able to do that. But I have trained some other people right now without any experience. That gives me actually motivation to say that even if you don't have C sharp experience, you could still do this actually, but it would take you some time to get there. As long as you have the time, you have the tenacity, nothing, and you are ready to learn, you should be fine. Mm. All right, I think that should be all the questions. There's no other one, so I would just go ahead. Okay. All right, so now let's start with what exactly is software testing? What is testing? What exactly is testing, and why do you need to test? More often, I used to start this discussion by saying everybody does testing. Everybody does testing. And in fact, the first thing that you do early in the morning is testing. What do I mean? When you wake up in the morning, what do? You open your eyes, right? Or you stretch your arm, you stretch your leg. For instance, if you open your eyes and you couldn't see anything, So basically, there's issue. What you do, maybe you have to call 999 or you call 111, whether it's 333 wherever you are, or it's 777 and anything. But you have what you are trying to do is to raise a bug. You raise an alert basically. So testing is very important. So because in your mind you have a requirement. When you open your eyes, this is where my eyes should look like basically. And when it doesn't see what it should see, then it doesn't meet the requirement, it doesn't satisfy the requirement that you already set, basically. For instance, you try to raise your hand, it doesn't do anything. So basically, that is a bug. There's a defect in the operation. And also, I tell people, right, even if you sleep, right, and you wake up and you open your eyes and your eyes could see, and that doesn't mean that there's no defect, because defect also could be in the environment. Let's say you open your eyes and you discover that you are in Texas and last night you slept in London. What will you do? Do you think you say, all is good? No, you won't do that actually. You raise a bug to say, what happened? I don't remember traveling to Texas in the US. I was in London the last time I slept. So even though your eyes can see, but your environment has changed and it's changed to a different thing. So in that regard, so testing is basically like a process, right, that consists of different things, right? So it consists of static and dynamic. Static means that there's something that doesn't change, and dynamic means the other thing that will change, right? And it also includes planning, preparation. You don't just sit down and say, okay, after I want to test. Another thing I also want to say in terms of testing, in terms of what we do, right? I also want to say most of us we use mobile phones actually, and I've not seen anyone that buys a phone and say the first thing he's going to say is like, okay, this is the phone, and let me quickly send an email quickly, or let me quickly call. You don't normally do that. You look at the phone, you try to browse through the phone, you confirm that is the right one. But basically, that's another form of testing that you're actually doing, even, and you could call it like a user acceptance testing. Because for instance, if you order a, let's say, iPhone for instance, and they brought a Nokia for you, or even if it's the Nokia, not extreme, let's say even if it's a Samsung phone, well, that is a defect, right? You even though unconsciously you're not doing testing, but actually you're also doing testing, because the first thing you look at that particular phone, you confirm that's the right spec, you confirm that's the right model, you confirm that it is working, you turn it on, it is fine, you are actually checking that everything is fine, even if you're not even looking at the manual to actually go through what that phone should do. But technically what you are doing is testing. So basically, you are trying to satisfy that that particular phone is fit for purpose, and also it meets your requirements. The only issue that comes now, you are kind of an ad hoc tester. Basically, you are not following the process. You are not doing evaluation. So this is what this particular course is going to do for you. It's going to move you from being an ad hoc tester to a professional tester. So now, when you want to test, you follow process. You follow the process that you want to be able to check if something is okay or not. So like I said, why do you even need to test? Why do you need testing? I've mentioned this before. One is basically just you want to be sure everything is fine. Just check everything is okay. You want to be sure that there's no fault of someone, there's no flaw, there's no mistakes. Everything is working according to how it should work, basically. When I said about you testing uh, early in the morning, the first thing you do early in the morning is that when you open your eyes, is the first thing you do, right? Or you raise your hand. You are always checking that everything is perfectly fine. Yeah, so you already have a requirement at the back of your mind on how it should work, and then you are checking it based on that requirement. That's your basis of your testing. So when we talk about requirement, when we talk about test basis, when we talk about planning, so you need to come to that realization that there will be process for you to follow henceforth when you are doing your testing, and this is the purpose of this particular um, course. So, and also, when we mention software, what do we mean actually? Because I need to really emphasize that. So, it also means your program process, also means your data, documentation, anything, any or the operation that you perform in a computer system. That's what we're talking about. So, as a software tester, you're going to be testing the program, you're going to be testing the process, you're going to be testing the data, you're going to be testing the operation, you're going to be testing the documentation. So that is, it's kind of comprehensive, basically. So you're going to be testing. So that's what you're going to become, a software tester. Then, yeah. So I said testing is a process basically. It's not a single activity. So it's actually like it's got a life cycle. So, and one of the reasons why you do testing is to be able to establish or prevent defects from being introduced into your code. That code will be, yeah, maybe the software that you're actually testing. So basically, you verify that the test basis. I've mentioned test basis in the last one. Basically, it could be like your test basis could be your requirement, your design specification, that particular thing at the back of your mind that has got the diagram of how your operation should work. For instance, now when I talk about like when you wake up in the morning, so you have a requirement at the back of your mind to see this is how my eyes should work. For even if you look at in literary way, right? Even if you are using glasses, right, and you wake up something and you didn't put your glasses and everything seems to be fine, and you got 20/20 vision, you will see raise the bug actually, because this is not normal for you, basically. That, as you can see that, so it's basically you have a requirement that you're going to be use as a test basis, basically. So that is what you're going to use to confirm if your application differs from what the requirement is saying. So that's what you're going. Basically, that's what testing is. You have a requirement, you have the application. Your role is to confirm that the application meets the requirement. You open the requirement. The requirement said, when I enter A, I should see A. You go to the application. You open the application. You enter A, and you see A. That is a check. So you go to the next one. When I enter B, I should see B. Open the application. You enter B, but you did not see B. You see C. Then what do? That's not right, actually. So that one is a bug because there's a difference in what the requirement says and what the application is doing. So then you raise a bug. So what is a bug? We're going to talk about bugs and defects in the later slide. Now, instances of failures. So you have different type of failures that have happened in the time past. Some of them you are familiar with. So, but let's look at Bloomberg terminals in London that crashed and which affected even like almost 300,000 traders on the financial markets. So that actually forced the government to postpone like £3 billion deficit, so which is a huge loss to the government actually. So for instance, it was actually because there's a bug on the system because of technical glitch of bugs actually. And there are other issues even with Starbucks, with Amazon, and even with even if you go back to 1996, even about where there's a bug in the banking accounts of some customers in the US that they start to credit them. Yeah, that would be bonanza for everyone at that particular time, to be honest. So when you're just being credited by your bank without having to do anything. So, but this is the reason why you need a tester so that it can be able to prevent as much as possible those bugs from going live, basically. And I even read one this afternoon. I didn't actually put this in the slide. So there's accounts even of even post office in the UK also. There's a fault in their operation. So I think they just uh, finish the court case. Actually, I think they find them like billions or something. Not even fine. I think they are actually returning the money back to the operators of the post office, basically. So because there are glitches in their operations, so that's why you need testers. In some cases, it's not only financial losses, it could also lead into death, people dying, and we saw even Apollo or something, and also some radiation therapy machine that malfunction and people died. So you can see how it's important to have a system that is fully tested and also without any bug, basically. So that is the purpose of testing. Now let's talk about these particular features, these particular definitions. Actually, this is one of the definitions that sometimes are very, very contagious in software testing. Some people, what is mistake, what is error, what is defect, what is bug, what is failure. So, and I can tell you also, right, these people use these particular terms interwoven, and sometimes it doesn't mean the same thing. So if you are working in a place, you need to use the right terms, right? So and also look at their differences between their definitions. They don't mean the same thing. They mean different things. So they mean different things actually. So one thing is mistakes. Every of these particular terms that we have discussed, error, defect, bugs, failure, they start with a mistake. It could be like John. John is a developer. John just finished uh, writing some code and he was about to continue the next one. Then James came and said, John, can we go and have a coffee? So as he was about to go, maybe Zan pressed the A button and he didn't actually know. He just went. And when John came back to start the code, he just thought, maybe it's end of day. I just checked in the code and that's it. That little mistake would develop right into an error. So and that error, if it's not found, it will be gone into maybe QA environments, and QA also they would try to find bug or defect. So but if this bug or defect is not found in a QA environment as a tester, right, then it goes into live environments. When it goes into a live environment, then it actually causes a failure. So you can see where a mistake or error that someone made actually in the software, right? And it is not discovered by that particular person. It went into development and everything, and it's been released to a QA. And if QA actually found that particular flaws, it's called a defect at that particular time or a bug, and they can correct it. But if it's not found, then that particular bug is there and it goes into operation. It could make the systems to fail, and failure could be in different parts. Okay, it could be like, oh, there's a typographical error, or there's something, or even the system does not even work at all. So it could be in different levels also. So that's how you can see how these things now gravitate from being a mistake or error. It goes into a defect or bug, then it goes into failures also. So the cause of defects. So now if you look at defects now, so how do you fix a defect? First thing, there's a English adage that says that a stitch in time saves nine. This is very, very true for a defect. So if you're able to find a particular bug as early as possible, so it's easy to fix. For instance, so we're going to look into static testing. So static testing is basically looking at the requirements, and there's a requirement that's been done by the BA. There's a requirement that's been done by the BA, and then a tester, you look at that requirement, there's a defect that, okay, that there's an error in the requirement. Basically, let me say it that way, there's an error in the requirement, and you point it out to the BA to say, oh, I think this is not right. And the BA, what exactly does it need to do? It just needs to fix it by either delete or backspace. That is easy. But if that is not found, it goes into development, right? And developer also developed on that wrong requirements, and then it passes to the QA. So if the QA is able to find it, right, and that's where in while it's doing the testing, then it becomes a bit difficult to fix because he has to go back and the requirement has to be fixed. Then it has to be built again or designed. Then also it comes back to test. So you can see how it's now more expensive. Even if the tester did not actually find it, it goes into productions and they actually found the bug in productions. So it's kind of more expensive to fix. So you can see the cost of the defect. So that's why it's good for us to find the bug as early as possible. That's why there's a notion in the industry that a tester should be employed as soon as possible when the project starts actually. So this is one of the interview questions. So they might ask you, when do you think that testing should start? So the answer is testing should start as soon as possible when the application is in the initiation stage. So when you're trying to write the requirement, testing already started because you can also test that requirement to be sure that it actually fits the purpose. So the roles of testing in development. So I won't actually dwell much on this. So I think I've already covered this in my last discussion. So now principles of testing. Because some people say, okay, yeah, that's good. I can start testing. But testing are guided by some principles that you need to know. And so that when you are testing, you are saying the right thing, you are not saying the wrong thing. Also, you are also obeying these particular principles. So principle number one, says that testing shows the presence of defects. It's very, very important, right, that testing does not say that there's no defect. It only shows that there's a defect in the application. So what you are trying to do is that you are trying to reduce the probability of uncover defects remaining in the software. That means that when you actually finish testing, there's a sense of satisfaction or sense of confidence. There's a confidence that, oh, this particular applications has got increased quality. So also there will be less bugs in it. You can't actually say there are no defects, but you can testing will show that, yeah, I've got 20 bugs, I've got one bug. I've been able to find 2 or 3 bugs, but you can say, oh, this and now I've signed it off. There's no bug. That is not totally right actually, because that's a principle. Principle of testing says that testing shows the presence of bugs. It doesn't show that there are no bugs, because there might also be bugs that it did not discover. But however, the caveat is now that you've been able to reduce probability of defects remaining in the software. So if it was 100% before, maybe it's now been reduced to, yeah, I can now say, yeah, if there's any bug, the probability there's bug in that particular software is now 1%. So, which is okay, or it's going to be 0.99% or 0.11. So that is one principle. Principle number 2, exhaustive testing is impossible. This is, if I will need to emphasize that it could be possible in some trivial cases. If you are testing some application that are just visible, are just small application or something, yeah, it's possible. But in most complex applications, you cannot say, I have, yeah, exhaustively tested the application. I have covered everything. Sometimes it's not possible because of some combinations of inputs and preconditions. So, but if you cannot say that I've covered all test cases, right? What do you do? So that's where you need to use the right test design techniques. We're going to look into test design techniques and how do you be able to say, yeah, I've covered most of the required test combinations or test cases so that I can have confidence that the application is okay. So, but in some application, bear in mind that you cannot say you've actually exhaustively tested the application, but you can say that, yeah, I have covered this percentage or this particular test cases. And so that's why it's very important for you to design your test case appropriately. Is very important. So early testing, I've mentioned this right now that testing should start as early as possible. It's one of the principles of testing. Defect cluster. This is very, very important, even as an experience or if you are joining an application. Sometimes, so you need to know that in most cases, defects sometimes they cluster in some plot. You can see as an experienced tester, sometimes you might find yourself in that situation whereby you would, you will see that the applications are buggy in a particular location or in a particular scenario. So that particular, or when you test a part of that scenario, it only fails every time. Maybe because of who actually developed it or because of the complexity of that particular area. So there's also useful information for you to know that sometimes defects can cluster in a particular place, so that even sometimes when you've got 1 minute to test, you need to look at where do you go to, what do you test. So that's very, very important to see. So sometimes you can use this as an attack mechanism to say, okay, even if I have only one thing to test, this particular place I need to make sure it's tested. So then pesticide paradox. So basically, this is saying that if you are using the same test cases all over every time, you are not going to find new bug basically. So you are going to use, you are also doing the same thing every time. So you need to know that you are not repeating your test cases, because it's possible some people will take almost 5 days to test something that will only take 5 hours, because they are repeating the same thing all over again, and they think they're using different test cases. They're not actually. They're only using the same test case actually in a different way basically. So you need to know when you're designing your test cases. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to give you even assignment and exercise on this particular principle so that you'll be able to understand it. Also, it's very, very important to know how you design your test case so that you don't repeat tests all over again. So because if you do, you are not going to find new bug actually. So then testing is context driven. And to be honest, I tell people, this is where the money is also. It is also not only context driven, it is also financially driven, basically. So, and context driven in the sense that when you are testing an application that is safety driven, you would actually test it like kind of very properly. So for instance, if the application is just used by, I don't even care, it's just normal, or someone just decided to create a blog and it doesn't matter. So, just test it and then make sure everything is fine. So you know the context and that's it. Or you are testing a financial application and money is involved, you have to test it properly. That's what they said it's context driven. You need to know the application that you are designing or you are testing, and also know how important it is basically. So absence of error fallacy. So I think this also relates to the first one. So fixing and finding a defect does not help. So you cannot actually say there's no error. So this is also very important. This is also goes in line with uh, test principle number one. So, and if the application is not usable and it's not, you cannot actually use it, it doesn't meet user. Even if you find 100 bucks or so, that application is still not usable, basically. So, and it's not like, okay, I found 20 bucks or 30 bucks or 100 bucks. It's the application is still meeting people's needs. So it's not about finding error. It's not about absence of error or there's no error in the application, but the application should be able to fulfill the user's expectation and requirements. That is what you need to establish basically as a tester. Not like, okay, there's no bug. That's very, very important. So that's that in terms of fundamentals of testing. So now let's go through the test process, fundamental of test process. So there are waterfall, agile, and also vmodule. We're going to look into that. In waterfall, this is different software design life cycle. So in waterfall, you might have heard this or not. So this is one where I say is a like water falling down through the rock. So you go down. So requirement is done. When requirement is done, they pass it to system design. System design is done, they pass it to implementation. Implementation is done, they pass it to integration or testing, and then they deploy, and it goes into maintenance. It goes into that cycle again. So the issue is like, okay, the BA will write the requirements and maybe also do the system design. Then developer will implement all the designs and everything, and then tester will test it, and then they will deploy the system, and it goes into the. So the issue with this is like if an application is being developed in this particular manner, and then the bug is found during deployment or during integration testing. So you have to go through the requirements also, and then change the requirements, and they do the design again, they do the implementation again, on and on like that. So, and that is basically like a water falling through the cliff. Basically, it's a steep mountain. So, and for you to go up again is very, very costly. So, and that is what this particular development lifecycle is talking about. And then also you have vmodule, right? Vmodule, at every particular stage, you have a document that is attributed to that particular stage. So for instance, when you have user requirement, there's a user acceptance document. So you perform that at that level. So you have a system requirement, then you perform system tests on that particular document, and also you have this global design and documents, and at that particular time you do your integration on that one. So the same way also you do. So basically it's going to go down and go up again like that. But at every particular stage you have different documents that guides that particular life cycle. So this is I would say this is the most favored life cycle development life cycle actually. So which is iterative methodology. So and agile. So if you are, there is a session, a full 4 sessions on agile and scrum master. So if you are also interested, you can also join that particular course. I'm not going to be teaching that. There's another tutor that's going to do that. So I will take a part of that. Also, I'll be taking the practical parts and also some parts of the tools that they use as an agile tester, because I've also worked as a scrum master in most of some of the roles. So, and if you are looking into full details about agile, I think you should attend that particular course. So basically in agile, what you do is that you have the requirement coming in your discovery space. You would come together and you discover that requirement. You will write the plan, you plan it, you will do your sprint planning, you will groom it and everything. It goes into design. Then developer would, because it's going to be a little chunk of that particular project that you are doing, right? It's not going to be all the projects, the requirement for the other projects. You take a little chunk and you write the requirement for it, you design it, you develop it, and you test that particular part. And if it's fine, you move into the next one. So if it's not fine, you can go into that cycle also. So if it's fine, that is already done. You go into the next story, and you put it into the grooming session, you plan it, and then developer develops it, and the tester tests it. It goes into that. So you go into that cycle using different chunk of requirements, and then until you finish everything. So you're going to be moving it in iteration. So like I said, so there will be a full course for that. So one of the framework for Agile is Scrum. So this is going to be explained in great detail later. So now let's look at, this is also in an Agile team. So what do you have? So you have the subject matter expert saying this is what we want to do, and they're actually basically out of the system. So then you now have your Scrum team. So your Scrum team comprises of the development team, so the Scrum Master and the product owner. So as you can see, the question is that there's no tester yet. So this is where the tester and the BA also will live, and developer. So in a Scrum, they believe everyone in this particular session in the development team, they are all developers basically. If you're a QA, you are also putting a developer hat on basically. So, and then Scrum Master will remove impediments if you have any issues. And Agile is self-disciplined and self-organized actually. So everyone will be responsible for themselves. So the product owner is kind of the sponsor of this particular project. Is the one that liaise with the stakeholders and also with the business owner, making sure that their requirements are being fed into the development team. So the Scrum Master is there to make sure that the team is organized and they follow Agile principle, and also if there's any issues, he removes that particular impediment. So that's that on Agile. So if you, let's go to the test level. So there are different level of testing. So when you are going to be doing your testing, you need to know where you sit during this particular cycle, right? So unit testing. Unit testing, normally as a QA, you don't do unit testing, it's done by developer. But these days, testers are also being included or involved in unit testing. So because what happened, some developer may not have experience of testing or how testing should be done, or they don't know how to write good test cases or something like that. That's why I said even this particular training that we're doing also could be useful for developers also. So what they do is like, okay, maybe there are some loopholes in their test cases, or they've not covered some test cases. Tester will be brought in to look at those test cases, and then we'll be able to propose that John, have you considered this particular test case? I think this negative scenario is not yet covered, or so you can actually propose more coverage to the unit test cases. So but traditionally the unit tests are done by developers. So integration testing, so this is where sometimes is going to be the APIs and everything. So this is another thing that we'll cover during the course of this testing. So it's also something like a tester would do. Then more often than not, you see the manual testers also at this point. So you take the whole system and you start to with the requirements, and you confirm that it actually meets what the requirement says. So before the application goes into user acceptance testing. At user acceptance testing, you are actually testing on behalf of the business. So which is the final part before the business can sign out to say, okay, yeah, it's fine. So like I said, sometimes when you buy a new phone, what you're actually doing is like a user acceptance testing, because at the point you are the user. So, and if that phone does not meet your requirement, you will return it back to where you bought it from. So at that point, you are trying to accept that phone or not. So based on the requirement that you have at the back of your mind. So yeah, I've said about unit testing. Unit testing is also sometimes known as module or program testing, and it's done during development of the application. So is just to isolate the code and verify its correctness. So you can use a stub and everything. So basically, this I will leave this. Like the most important thing is usually done by developer. So, but with input also nowadays from BS integration testing. So it's now you now test the interfaces between the two application or two parts of the application. So basically, try to ensure that the interface or is there any connection between them, those two applications. So this is what the integration testing is for. And system testing, this is where most of people will fall into to say, okay, now the system is coupled together as a whole system or as a product. So you come in there and you test it as a whole, basically. And there's a different process or design techniques that we're going to use to be able to do this. We're going to look into that. Acceptance criteria is basically after acceptance testing, rather, is when you've already decided to say, oh, let us show this particular product to the user or someone, a representative of the user, so that they can be able to test it to be sure that it meets the requirements. So you can do a user acceptance testing. So that is basically on different test levels of testing. So then we now have test types, type of testing. So type of testing, I will just for simplicity's sake, right? I'll just divide the testing type into two, non-functional and functional testing. Non-functional is like, okay, what are the things that are non-functional? So basically, you want to do like a load testing, stress testing, configuration testing, performance, usability testing. So basically, what are the things that are not functional to the application? How the application perform under stress, or that is stress testing. Or when you have a lot of loads, what does the application do? That's load testing. So or you want to check the performance of the application. They are not functional testing. So, and you call them like NFT. So it's basically non-functional testing. So if you want to test the functional testing, also you can the functional part of the application. So the data integrity, the UI, the security, and also installation and licensing. So you look into those ones. So how would the UI behave, and also basically you are testing based on the requirements that has been provided and during the functional testing. So okay, so I've talked about functional testing, basically what exactly it does. So that exactly the system, you have a document and then you use it as a basis for your testing, and is also referred to as black box testing. So, but I said this is not totally true, since black box testing also includes non-functional testing. So some people will call you, say, do you do black box testing? It's not actually functional testing. So because black box testing also you can do non-functional testing with it. So I've talked about, this is a different type of non-functional testing that you can do: reliability, usability, efficiency, maintainability, and also portability. So depending on which one you do. So okay, type of testing, you have structural testing. So structural testing, so this is one. Structural testing is often referred to white box. Why is it white box? Because you can actually see inside. So this is when you have access to the code, you are able to test based on the code coverage, based on what the code is saying. So, but more often than not, is for most of the testers, you may not do this actually, but it's something that you should bear in mind. So, for instance, if you have to assist in the unit testing, you will be doing the structural testing. And also sometimes it's also good to know what goes into the application, as in to know the structural architecture of the application so that you can test it properly. So that also is very, very important for you to know. So, and also you have some testing which is based on changes, actually confirmation and regression testing. So in terms of confirmation testing, so you want to test that this particular, when application fails, you want to confirm that it's not passing. So that's what you would do. So basically, you want to say, okay, yeah, I want to make sure this application is now passing, is now working according to specification. So you do that as a confirmation testing. So also, at the same time, you are confirming the application works. You also need to confirm that the application does not do something that it should not do. Basically, it hasn't regressed. So you would do like two type of testing. One is confirming that, yeah, this is doing what it should do, and the next one that it shouldn't do what it should not do. And also you need to also confirm that the part that was working before is still working now. It has not actually regressed. You check the other part that was working before, and to be sure that it's not working, it's still working. So it's very, very important to see that as any of the changes that has been done, has it affected any part of the application. So you want to confirm that. So test design, this is very, very important, to be honest. It's very, very dear to me. So I will just talk about some terminologies first thing. So what exactly is a test condition? I know when I mentioned this, I remember a friend of mine actually was, what's a test condition? He gave me one answer. So, but simply, it's something that you could test. So that's your test condition, something that you could test. If you are looking into the code and you want to say what exactly can you test, so anything that you can test is your test condition. So some people use different words for this actually, but there are other things that you need to look into in terms of terminology. I've mentioned one of them before, which is test basis. Test basis is basically that requirement or that documentation that you use for testing. So you have your test condition. Inside your test basis, you remove your test condition. You can say, oh, what are the features that I want to test? What are the things that I can test in that test basis? So that is very, very important to know when you're talking about test basis, what is it? When you're talking about test condition, what exactly is it? Another word that you want to look into is test script. So this is kind of different instructions that you want to follow. So sometimes in the manual test cases, you can call your test script at different test conditions that you've written out, and you now compile them or combine them into different steps. So it becomes a script to you. So, and when you're writing your manual test cases also, there's also test procedure, right? There's a test procedure, that's what people often call test script, basically, which is like different orders that you want. We're going to do this in our practical sessions, so but we just want to lay down the terminologies to say what exactly, when we talk about test procedure, what do you mean? It's also test script that people refer to, but actually it's sequential steps or order that you can follow when you are trying to execute your test. So for instance, when you are trying to create a post, but you need to log in first. To log in, you provide your username, you provide your password. So you will put those ones in that steps to say, okay, enter username, enter password, click on login. So those becomes your test script basically, and at the same time it's called test procedure. So if you are looking for test cases, I know some people have asked me about test cases templates. You can Google them out actually. So the standard one is, I think there's an update version of this actually, but in previously you will use like IEE 829 standard. So if you Google that out, there will be different things that you can put in your test cases. So your test procedure, purpose, requirement, different things that you want to put in there, your test item, your input specification, your output specification, environment, and everything. So you can actually Google a template
for that into that one. So this is different type of testing that you have, whether you are doing static testing or dynamic testing. I have mentioned about static testing. Static testing is when it's not even executed that particular application. You only review the document. So it's basically at static testing, what you're going to be doing is going to be review, basically. Then after that, you have dynamic when you run the operation. So you have three different methods that you can use to test. One is structure-based, where that you will look into the structure of the application. You can use decision table. You can use check out decision the branches. You can check the statements. You can check the conditions or multiple conditions. So you can look into the statement of in there, or basically you walk through the workflow, or you walk into the workflow or the pseudocode of that particular applications and or the flow chart, and you can based on that, if there's any decision logo, you look into that. So 1 minute, I think there's a question. Okay, I'm going to come back to that 1 minute, so I think you have now. So there's a question, what's the difference between test condition and test cases? So I think I've answered this one before. So if you look into what I said at this point, your test conditions is simply something that you want to test, right? Whether your the feature that you want to test. But in most cases, test cases is that particular input or output on data that you want to use to be able to test your test conditions. You have a feature that you want to test, that's your test condition. Then also the data or the input and output data that you want to use to test them is your test cases. So I hope that is fine. So now there are three steps that you can use. So I've mentioned three types of ways you can or three methods basically. So you also have experience-based techniques that you can use. So you can use error guessing, exploratory testing, that experience-based. So more often this is where people you focus, and maybe that's where it's highlighted. So specification-based. So you have equivalent partitioning, you have boundary value analysis, you have decision table, state transition, and use cases. We're going to look into that right now. Test design techniques. So the first one is specification based. So we want to look into. So I'm going to put up last time. So I've mentioned about this anyway. So you have specification based, you have structure based, white box, and experience based. So based on that. So where to apply these techniques? So I'm going to go into the techniques now. Okay, equivalent partitioning basically. So this is a very good all-round specification. So, and you use it for black box actually. So you need to have exposure to the. So you don't need to have exposure to the structure of the application. So basically, like when I actually teach this, I tell people more often than not, things could be divided into two equal partitions. So when you have test cases and you want to try to design, you can try to look at them. Can I actually partition them into two equal parts? So you have an application that accepts even number. So you can actually say, yeah, you've got two test cases there, one even and one odd, basically. And you have an application that is for sex. So you can actually say male or female for the gender. So you have applications so that accept you just basically consider the valid and the invalid part of the application, so you can actually divide them into two equal parts. So this is the concept behind this particular method actually. So and you can actually divide them. So and a good example is this actually. So if you have an application that accepts number 1 to 99, so what you need to do, you have the valid one, 1 to 99, and you have the invalid one, which is anything less than 1 or anything greater than 99 or numeric value. So basically, you already partitioned them into two equal parts, valid part and also the invalid part. So when you are actually testing, you should say, okay, how many test cases do you need? So for instance, that was, I mentioned about the principles of testing that the one that talk about the paradox actually. So when you are only designing repetitive test cases, for instance, if you are testing this application right now and they ask you how many test cases do you need, you say I'm going to supply 2, I'm going to supply 3 and 4 or 5, something like that. So even if you supply 1, 2, 3 and 4, you are only doing one round of testing. So all the other 4 rounds that you've done are just useless basically. So you need to design your test cases appropriately and take data from each of the partition. So like you can see, invalid partition is being partitioned to different parts. So you now have now invalid is 0. I can take any one from there, and in terms of my invalid at this later part. So in my valid, I can take any number in this particular range. Yeah, also in the invalid, I can take any number in this range. So other invalid one also is non-numerical numbers. So I can also take any non-numerical number. So as long as my test cases actually cover this particular partitions, then I'm fine. But if I'm taking something that's not covering any one of these, then you've not actually done a thorough testing. So another one that you have is boundary value analysis. So, and at boundary value, so sometimes you will know that this is, as a developer, this is very, very important, because sometimes bugs actually happens at the boundary. Actually, sometimes when developers want to write less than or equal to, they just say less than without putting the equal to. Or sometimes when they say less than or equal to, they only mean less than. So this is very important to look into, so to see that there's no issues at the boundary. So you need to look at the boundary. So a good example is now when you have the same number now, the same application accept 1 to 99. So in this case, what you need to do now, you look at the boundary. It's starting from is 1, right? So you would consider 0 and you consider 1, right? And that is, because the application should not accept 0 and it should accept 1. So that is fine. Then you also look into the boundary here, right? That the application should accept 99 and also should accept 98. You look into that boundary. Then also the application should not accept 100. You look into that boundary. Also, you can see this is now being split out into different boundary. 0 should not be accepted, 1 should be accepted, 98 should be accepted, 99 should be accepted, and 100 should not be accepted. So you can see you've got your test cases already written using this particular method. Equivalent partitioning, so this is also another example. So suppose a password field accepts minimum of 6 characters and maximum of 10 characters. What do? So you enter 0 to 5 characters in the field and there's no result there. So no password, prefer put no password and 5 letters. So technically in this scenario you're actually mixing the techniques together. So you have 0 to 5 minimum. So and then you put 0 and you put 5 characters. You'll be able to cover that, and the system should not accept. Then you also use 6 to 10. So basically you use at the boundary 6 characters and 10 characters. The system should accept that. So after that you do 10 to 14. So based on this actually, so you actually mixing both equivalent partitioning and boundary value together to actually solve this particular problem. So I've mentioned this also, different roles, so I'm not going to look into this one again in terms of test. So, but if you're looking at test analyst role, so this is basically going to be what they would be doing actually as a test analyst. So if you're looking into that. So I'm going to send this slide anyway so you can actually see that. So test plan, okay. So it might also work as a manual tester. So I'm asked to write test plans. So what do you put into your test plan? So these are the things that you put into your plan. I've mentioned this before when I showed the IE sample 829. So you have your test plan for introduction, test item, feature to be tested, feature not to be tested, approach that you want to use. You also have on the criteria, test exit criteria. So when this is basically saying that when can you say you finish your testing? What are the criteria that you meet? So one of them will be like maybe there's no high priority bug. When do you say testing has actually finished? So this is what you will consider, or maybe another example answer is when the money has finished, basically, or maybe when you've covered your requirements. That's another thing. So yeah, you need to specify your exit criteria. So, and also suspension criteria and resumption. If you have to suspend testing, what will be the criteria? And when you want to resume, what will be the criteria? What are your test deliverables, and what are the documents that you want to deliver, as well as the software that you want to deliver? So you need to also look into different testing tasks. What are different testing tasks that is available for the team? Environmental need. What are the environments that are needed for this testing? And also, what are the responsibility of each of the resources that are available? Then, is there any training that's needed? And what's the schedule of this testing? Is there any risks and contingencies? And also, if there's any approval that needs to be done, you will seek the approval. Okay. So I think that is all for today. So I will quickly open the floor for any question if I haven't answered any. Okay. So any question before we? I think I've answered all those tests, condition test cases and test scenarios. So, which is more cost efficient in the test? We're talking about the test model. To be honest, there's no one that is cost efficient. You need to look at the scenarios that you are into and apply the right one, basically. So, and I've also showed to you how to apply both of them, right? So, in some cases, you might need to apply both of them into in order to create your test cases, basically. So, there's no like, okay, which one is most efficient? As you also can also deduce that the test, so the boundary value analysis, it will only be used on numbers. So as you can see, but equivalent partitioning may be used even with that number. So you need to look into the right techniques for the right application. So we're going to have some practical assignments, so that would allow you to use all these techniques. So then you can be able to know which one is the right one at every particular time. So where do you get these slides from? So like I said, the slides you can get the slides from mention this link at the top. Okay, yeah. For the over 25, you need to go to this particular discussion board. The link will be posted for the under 25 on this particular link. The link on this particular material will be posted there. That's where you get the slides. Okay, yeah. There are jobs that require manual testers, but not automation. So I know there's the automation. It's some people, yeah, are looking for automation, but there are still a lot of jobs that you don't need to do automation. However, there are some jobs also that when you get them, even as automation tester, what you're going to be doing will be manual, basically. That's why sometimes it's good to know what automation is. So when you get into the job, you might not even do automation, you might even for like 3 or 4 months. Some of them is only automate or manual that you'll be doing in order to catch up, basically. So, but it's also good to know the automation so that you are not limiting yourself, to be honest. So, but yeah, there are roles in manual testing also. So you don't need to, yeah, if you are not, yeah, if you don't want to learn the automation, that's fine. It's okay. You can get some roles in as a manual tester. As software tester, we're going to be involved in all the functional and non-functional testing. That is, the answer is yes. So yeah, that I think the answer is yes. So, but like I said, some functional testing will be done by you, and non-functional testing could be done by some non-functional tester actually, because some it's also a specialized skill. So you have performance tester, you have security testers. So you might not do some non-functional testing. Some you might in most of the roles, you might only focus on functional testing, leaving some non-functional testing, because nowadays it's also a key on its own. So, but you have some roles that they are combined together. You have to do both of them at a particular time. Yes, what you learn here should be sufficient, to be honest. So what I can say is that if you are looking to do the exam, so we're going to post the materials on the discussion board so that you can be able to download it. I think I've answered that question. How do you get additional? Okay. All right. I think our time is fast spent. I've got only 1 minute left. So how do we decide whether to use? In most cases, you might not decide. Maybe your project manager or scrum master has already decided that you just need to know if you're working in a V module, and you need to know if they are running agile, and then based on that particular process, adapt your level of testing towards that. when can smoke and sanity testing be performed during testing? So, okay, smoke testing, for those people that have not know, smoke testing is done, it's kind of a quick test that you want to quickly run to establish that that application is working, and before you can even start your testing. So it's like a pre-test to be sure that everything, the environment is fine, or this thing. So you would quickly just first run your smoke testing. So I think the question is like, when is it run? So it's something that you start first. So even before you start testing, it's a good practice to have a smoke testing. For instance, if you are testing an application that requires login, and you will put the login in the smoke testing. So once login is not working, of course, there's no point testing for that. So how about if you don't have a smoke testing and you've already started trying to create something? But smoke testing allows you to decide whether to continue testing or not. So, and you do it like you got it like a very subset of your test, and then you can, which is maybe critical. Yeah, we will post the question on the discussion board about the assignment. The assignment will be posted on this discussion board actually. So I think that should be it. So yeah, in the discussion board, we'll post the assignment by tomorrow, and also by tomorrow you should also see the video on the slide also. All right, I think that's all. Thank you, everyone. So